Hey guys, before we start this episode, I wanted to talk to you about Type 1 Lifting. So Type 1 Lifting is a clothing line that proceeds of the shirts and tanks and everything else goes to the Children's Diabetes Foundation. So this all came about with me and seeing a 5-year-old girl in the emergency department that had new onset of diabetes. So just take a look at the website. It's www.type1lifting.com. So just check it out. If you don't buy anything, that's perfectly fine. I would just like for you just to take a look and just see what we have. So like I said before, www.type1lifting.com. And guys, I hope you enjoy the show. Hey guys, we have a new sponsor for the Type 1 Lifting podcast. The company's called Liberté Lifestyle. So Liberté is a French word meaning freedom, and the company was founded on the desire to have freedom to choose what we want to do with our lives. I actually had the owner, Nicole, on my podcast on episode 28, so if you want to go back and listen to her, she talks about how she started the company and what she wants to do in the future with the company, which is pretty cool. So they actually have knee sleeves, wrist wraps, shirts, shorts. Love the knee sleeves. I have the ice cream knee sleeves, and I love them so much. The neoprene's still good. The seams haven't split compared to other knee sleeves that I've had in the past, and I'm planning to keep these for a very, very long time. So Nicole actually gave me a promo code for you guys too. So it's all capital letters, TYPE, and the number 1. So it's Type 1. So go to libertelifestyle.com, check out what they have in the store, use the promo code Type 1, and save some coin. Now let's go to the episode. All right, guys, welcome to another episode of the Type 1 Lifting Podcast. I have a 4-time CrossFit Games athlete, kind of newish mom, and registered dietitian, Mekenzie Riley. How you doing?
Hi, I'm great, and I'm really glad to be here.
Well, thank you for being here. And also, I want to talk about your little sour patch in the beginning before all the CrossFit and everything else. So, first of all, how did that name come about, and how old's your son now?
Yeah, so my son Race is 10 months, almost 10 and a half months. So we're made it through the better part of the year, which is crazy to think about. I think every parent will say that they just flies. I don't know how it flies.
Yeah.
But yeah, so a couple of things. Well, my husband really, really loves candy, and he really, really does love the Sour Patch, really badly loves them. So it's just, we're a little bit partial to that candy in general, but then we were thinking about how we were going to announce our pregnancy. And so if you go back and look at the announcement that we made on social media, it was right at Halloween. So we used candy. And so we took a Hershey's bar and punched out one of the squares, and I put a little Sour Patch kid in there to symbolize that was me with a baby.
Nice.
So yeah, I don't know. I just started saying Baby Sour Patch because that's what the picture was, but also because I don't know, that's Roy's thing. So anyways, yeah, I don't know. We don't really call him that anymore, but yeah, that is what he was for a long time.
Nice. So what have you learned from having a 10-month-old now that you thought you would never expect?
Just understanding babies in general. I always was I'm not going to be that mom that lets schedules rule our life. We're still going to do this and we're still going to do that. And we're just going to take him everywhere and still do the stuff that we do. And that's not true at all. No, I'm not that mom. I'm the mom that hasn't done anything socially engaged because it will jack up our schedule. Mm-hmm. If it conflicts with the schedule, we're not going. Only because it is just hell trying to make sure your kid is rested and functioning properly. And, if they get off schedule, then, selfishly, get you off schedule as far as counting on time for yourself and sleep for yourself and anything to keep, things moving, smoothly, we'll do. So I kind of just, thought in my mind, that won't happen to me. I'm kind of one of those naive people in general, which sounds, really bad, but I'm always just nah, that won't happen. And just in most all scenarios in life, I like take my chances for the most part. Yeah, I know, real responsible. But yeah, so I was always like, oh yeah, you hear these stories, but I'm like, it'll be different when it's us. But no, it's not. So I'm also really, like, I just don't understand how, like, developmental, like, stages and kind of like how babies progress and grow. So my husband and I say all the time, gosh, like, you know, at 9 months or at 10 months, we're just like, I thought they were still like babies that needed, like, you know, like in blankets, like carried,
yeah,
and, you know, like swaddled up and, you know, not like functional little beings. We thought they'd be like helpless little blobs still, like in our minds, that's like still a baby.
Yeah.
But literally at 10 months old, he's like more of a toddler, to where I'm like, he knows what he's doing, and he's, you know, he knows what he wants, and he, you know, is moving and grooving. And I'm just like, dude, they're just so old so fast.
Yeah.
And I was like, I didn't know this was what a 10-month-old did. I thought this was like a 2-year-old. Like, I'm not going to lie. Like, I was like, I thought this was like a 2-year-old stage. Like, they just get so much older than you think sooner.
Yeah.
I guess is kind of what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, you know, developed more. So just learning a lot about the stages of childhood and baby rearing in general. Because, yeah, I had no idea what I was doing, of course.
Yeah.
So, yeah, a lot of stuff. And I'm also really surprised that I've learned to adapt to dealing with, like, less sleep and broken sleep and jacked up sleep. Because as an athlete, I literally slept between 8 and 10 hours a night as full-time games training. So I was just, like, could not break up with that idea of that being my life, like, with that much restful sleep. And people are just like, you just do it. You just, like, I don't know, you just do it, and you don't really think about it. And they're right. I'm, like, fully functioning on way less rest than I ever used to have. So it's impressive, like, how you figure it out.
Yeah. I'm on like 6 hours of sleep almost every night. And like, it's just wait till your son goes to school, like your first day of school. Like, I even got emotional. Like, I dropped him off at school and I'm like, I'm okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I can only imagine. Like, there's so many things that it just hits you. Like, I don't know. It's weird stuff gets me all the time. So I can't imagine.
Yeah.
It's going to go so fast.
Yeah. And even my daughter, it's like, she's like 2 and she's going to be 3 in August. And it's insane of like how much she's grown and it's like so fast. And it's like, just, you don't take stuff for granted at all.
The days are long, and there are some days where I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't wait for this day to be over.
Yeah.
But then, like, the weeks go fast, and I'm like, holy crap, he's 10 months old. Like, it's the weirdest phenomenon of, like, long days, but, like, short weeks and months and years. Like, it's so weird. But, what was I going to say? You were talking about, this is another weird thing is, like, when he's awake, I'm always like, oh my gosh, like, is it nap time yet? And then sometimes when we put him to bed and we're, like, watching TV, I, like, look at the monitor, I'm like, I miss him. I kind of wish he was awake right now. Like, it's like, when they're awake, you want them asleep, and when they're asleep, you, like, miss them and you want them awake.
Yeah.
Like, what is that?
Yeah, just like vacation too. Like, if you and your hubby go on vacation without the little one, and then you're like, well, we could stay a day longer, or we could just go home and come home with the kids, you know?
Yeah, I totally get it now. When people are like, oh my gosh, I missed them. I was like, what? You gotta, like, sleep and live your life. How do you miss? Like, I completely get it.
Yeah.
It's a weird like double-edged like sword situation.
Yeah, very, very, very interesting. So, what made you, like, what was the talk with you and your husband about having a kid? Because you're like, we're in, you know, going into your 5th CrossFit Games, and like, what was the thought of, like, you know, you having a kid at this time?
Right. Well, so I found CrossFit very late. I didn't start CrossFit until I was 25 anyways. And my husband is 2 years older than me. So, you know, we were kind of old, I won't say old, but, like, you know, we got there a little bit late. We got to the party a little late, you know? So, you know, you see these kids coming up in CrossFit now. I'm just like, you have no idea how much different that is than what I lived. Or people going to their, like, 8th CrossFit Games and they're like 26. I'm like, cool, I've been CrossFitting for a year. But yeah, so I was kind of, so the 2019 Games was the year that things were just like flipped on its head with the change in the structure of the season, the structure of the games, the whole games experience in general was like people will say that it was the most exciting or the most whatever because of all the cuts, and I don't know. I'm not like a poor sport about it. Obviously, like it sucked to be cut. So like, you know, I spent 2 days competing out of the normal like 4 or 5 that we do, and so it was just like a shit experience. Sorry for my language.
No, you're good. You're good.
To where it was just it wasn't what I used to know, and I was a little bit like jaded with my experience in 2019, coupled with the fact that I was turning 32 that year, turning 32 or something. Yeah, 32. I forget. Whatever. These years blurred together. And so I had been, and I mean, obviously, like, you know, we have family and, you know, other friends and family who have, you know, been like having kids for years, to where, you know, we always got the question about like, oh, do you think you'll ever like, you know, slow down and have kids? And we knew that we wanted to like make sure I rode the ride as long as I wanted to, and like got out of it what I wanted to get out of it. And I was just kind of at a little bit of a crossroads in my career where I had, you know, gone, you know, individually 3 times, seen like, you know, general increase in my fitness, you know, got to do a lot of awesome stuff, go a lot of awesome places, made so many friends. Like I had done so much stuff, and I had essentially like achieved what I wanted to achieve, because I knew, you know, if I said I wanted to win the games or like be top 10, it was going to take a whole other like layer of commitment in my life. And like, I don't know if that's, you know, I don't know if I want to, everybody says they want to like win the games. Like that was never something in my mind that I like truly wanted to achieve. And I wasn't going to necessarily like get to another level. I was just kind of like with it. And if not like, you know, what will be. So we were like, let's see if we get pregnant, then we do that. And if we don't, then I'll keep competing. And we just kind of let nature take over. And it turns out that that's what the good Lord wanted. So we ended up pregnant pretty quickly. Which is a blessing.
Yeah. Because my wife and I, so with our son, it took a little while to get pregnant, and then like my wife had a miscarriage on the second one, and then she got like really stressed about getting pregnant because she wanted to get it done now, because I was 35 before, like when she got pregnant, and she was like, you know, younger than that. I'm not telling how old she is. So,
right.
so she, you know, she was like, it was like a lot of stress, like building up. And even like the second, with my daughter, Sydney, you know, she would try to see on the schedule and like got so stressed out about it. I'm like, just relax, you know, nature will take its course. And literally a month later, she got pregnant again. So.
Oh, so good. And that's like, and I know I'm not oblivious to the fact that it's not always easy to get pregnant. And then, you know, whether it was going to be a struggle and we were going to need some time or some support, or we were, you know, maybe wouldn't be successful, and have some, you know, unfortunate events along the way. I wasn't sure. So I didn't want to put us on a timeline that we were going to be like, you know, pushing ourselves too far. So, I mean, it was kind of, like I said, kind of let nature take over based on where I was in my career. About things, but also knowing that I didn't want to put us in a dangerous situation where we were fighting against, you know, the biological, you know, clock. So yeah, I was just like, what if I put it off and then we do need more time? You know, like, I don't know. I was trying to not be selfish, and I mean, it turns out, yeah, like I said, that's just kind of how it was supposed to be. And so, yeah, it worked out, and we're very lucky that it worked so well the first time. So. Yeah, it fell into place.
Yeah. So did you talk to like any other CrossFit athletes that were like, you know, were having kids at the time, like asking them questions of what they thought, or?
So the decision, so it wasn't necessarily like a decision where I was like, I'm going to do it or I'm going to not. It was honestly more of like letting nature tell me if I was going to do it or not, because making that sort of decision is, I don't know. I don't want to say it was like a cop out. Like it would have been really hard to just like not be competing and also not be pregnant. It was like, I needed one to happen to force kind of the other. It needed to like force my hand almost. So yeah, I don't know if I could just make that decision and just have it be like I'm not doing either. And like, neither is happening right now. So it just definitely happened before I could talk to anybody about it, really.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily, I mean, I didn't even really talk to like my coaches or my like, you know, friends in the sport, telling them that it was something that I was considering. Only because, like I said, if it didn't happen, then I was just going to keep competing. So it was just kind of like it was kind of like on the DL.
Okay.
As far as like it being a plan.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to seem like a sore sport. And I didn't want to like, I mean, it wasn't because of the 2019 season, but it was kind of like shortly after that it happened. So, I don't know. It wasn't because I didn't want to compete. I just kind of couldn't make that decision for myself. So I just kind of let nature make it for me. Cause I will always like want to try, you know, it's hard to not want to try. Like I'm doing, like, here I am, like doing the open, like people are like, are you trying to compete? I'm like, no, I'm just going to do it. And whatever happens, happens, you know, like, I don't know. It's hard to not to sit it out.
Yeah.
It's a disease. I have a disease or something.
Oh, I completely agree. Like I played college sports, and then like after college, I needed something to, you know, to be competitive, and I use CrossFit as that. So, you know,
CrossFit is. It's like grown up. It's just grown up sports.
Yeah, yeah, and like, and congratulations on your was it 21.2 time?
Yeah, thank you. Yes, I know. That was super weird. Very unexpected, super weird. But I don't think I feel like a lot of people in general, and we improved that, but I did not expect that, that's for sure.
Yeah. And very cool, very cool. So, you're part of the Misfit team. I've been following their program for, I took a little break, but I was probably like 4 years right now. So how did you get involved? So how did you get involved with Misfit and like started working with them?
Yeah, that is a lovely story I love telling, and really honestly, and I don't give her enough credit. Alexa Johnson is probably the one that all the credit goes to. She's the one that brought me aboard Misfit. I had competed with her in 2014, 15, one of those years at the Granite Games. Mm-hmm. And then I saw her that year on the leaderboard. She like got like 9th in the open or something. And I was like, I know her. I was like, holy shit. She's like crushing it. And so I was just like, what is going on? And she was just like, Misfit. She's like, come follow Misfit. Because I had told her, like, you know, I want to like compete individually someday. So she just was just like, come do Misfit whenever you're ready. Let me know. Come do Misfit. And so I just reached out to her, and she connected me with her coach. And next, her coach is my coach, and we were training buddies from afar. And they pretty quickly, as far as like being part of like, you know, the core crew of the whole situation, as a sponsored athlete, and just very involved in like the community and a lot of the stuff that they do at HQ. That's just a part of being on Team Misfit, where it was within my first season. I went to a few camps and just got to, I don't know, I just really dove into the concept of having like a community. So I embraced like all the other athletes, and all the coaches, and just all the admin of, Misfit Athletics, and they just really, I don't know, they liked me back, and so they're just like, we really want to help you out, and we would love for you to be part of the team. So it was just an exciting opportunity. I was excited to have and really grateful to have, and they saw a lot of potential in me, which I was super grateful for, and it made me like feel really like proud and excited to have that sort of support, especially from people who have been in the sport and see, you know, how it goes. And if they thought that I was worth supporting, then, you know, to me, that meant a lot. So yeah, it started with Alexis crushing the open, and me being like, wow, whatever she does works. So I guess I'll go do that.
Yeah. Must've been all the bitch work.
Yeah, right. I know. I didn't know what that was. Now I do. And yeah, I'm obviously a huge believer, in the program, and now I get to be a coach. I'm a remote coach underneath them, and I don't know, I've just always just done exactly what the Misfit blog says, and it works. I mean, I can't really argue. So if anybody needs proof of that, like,
Yeah. So how did like, so I've always wanted to know about like remote coaching with like, the athletes for Misfits. So how does that work? Do you just like have like a group of people like a number of group of people that you have underneath you and kind of talk to them and like kind of scale of like what they need from the workout?
Yeah, so I mean, there's a couple. Yeah, so as far as, and every coach kind of operates different but the same. Yeah, so we just each have like a little short roster of athletes that we talk with. Once, twice a week, just kind of check in on them. But we get the programming ahead of time. We have a big, we learn a lot about the individual, learn about what they want to get, what their goals are, what kind of where their weak points are, and make sure that we like adapt the programming, not entirely, but just like slightly enough that we're making sure that we emphasize the things that they need to work on and making sure that they're cognizant of, hey, when I do this piece, this is what I need to work on, and just having a little bit more focus in training versus just like, oh, it says to do this AMRAP, I'm just gonna do it, get it over with, whatever. We just kind of train to train. We're training a little bit more intentionally. So yeah, I get in there and I type some little notes in to have them, tell them what to focus on. I might send them a few little videos, or they send me a lot of videos of how, some stuff that I want to take a look at. I might give them some feedback. I might send a video to give them some cues or instructions or a demo on like what I mean. Yeah, it's just a little bit more of some special attention to kind of pinpoint some things, but also it's just a support system, somebody to talk to. I don't know. It's always nice when you have somebody kind of like in the trenches with you, not just you out there grinding by yourself, wondering like, why does this matter? Which is what I.
Yeah.
So, and it's an accountability thing as well, I think, for some people. So, yeah, just a little guidance, a little guiding hand.
Very cool. So, how many people do you have underneath you right now?
Yeah. So, I mean, and they don't want to overload us, of course, because we want to provide a quality product. And there is, I feel like, always a wait list. So anywhere between like 1 and 5, okay, I would say is like, it's a small list, but again, to kind of make sure you keep up and provide quality. You don't want to overload yourself, but yeah. And there's, obviously a number of coaches. So, yeah, we've got a good amount of athletes that are committed enough and, dedicated on that level, and it's awesome. And there's lots of perks if you do remote coaching. You get a whole bunch of other perks.
Yeah. Yeah, free swag.
Yeah, you get some swag. Everybody loves it.
Yeah, very cool. So, do you also help your clients with dieting at all, or is that like a little extra for them?
That's just me on my own. So as a registered dietitian, that's my whole gig. I always offer it to any of my, remote clients or, just anybody I talk to, that I know is serious about their fitness enough to want to, put in extra time and attention to train like that. It's worth mentioning, but let's talk about your nutrition or your recovery or whatever outside of the gym, because it's such a bigger part of your day. The 2 hours you put in the gym is, 1/12 of your day, whatever, So, let's talk about the other vast majority. So yeah, that's just something that I always offer, but that's what I, was professionally geared to do, is all the nutrition aspect of things. And then of course by trade, and by experience, I'm a CrossFit coach. So
very cool.
I get kind of on, both sides of the coin when you work with me a little bit.
Yeah, very cool. So have you ever worked with like diabetics at all?
I don't currently work with any diabetics. I have in the past, and I've had to, of course, had all of the, education and experience through my education coming up. To know how to, like, specialized educator. But there are a lot of people out there who really like pigeonhole themselves, and that's like their niche. But I have not gone that way to like really delve into it, but I'm of course very familiar and understand, if that were to happen, kind of, if I did have a diabetic client, how to, like a protocol to kind of react and respond and work with them. But yeah, and I do know a lot of, not a lot, but I do know a fair amount of diabetic friends. So, I always do my best to give them my best tips and help. But
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because it's like it's a numbers game because you got to think about your blood sugar 24/7, and it's like
yeah,
it can be so stressful.
I know. I'm telling you, that is just like one of those things that it takes responsibility, and it does just it takes effort, just to maintain a healthy lifestyle as a diabetic. So those that do it, I have a lot of respect for y'all because you can't sleep on it.
Yeah, yeah, they definitely can. So, I kind of want to go back to like when you were a teenager, how you had like a eating disorder. So I kind and like, and I remember on one of your posts you did like a long, write up on you being, and having an eating disorder. So how did you overcome that? And do you still get like tendencies about issues like that?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's one of those things where I won't say it's like a chronic illness, but it's one of those things that you kind of have to always manage and just be on alert for throughout, I think, your lifetime if it's something that you ever dealt with at one time. And there is a little bit of like overlapping between, disordered eating and eating disorders. Like they're not quite the same thing. So you can't get too like willy-nilly with like saying you have, the specific diagnosis. But I think a lot of people have, in general, just some sort of disordered eating.
Mm-hmm.
It's because of the society we live in general, and the food culture. It's horrible diet culture. It gets me super fired up. So I think everybody has a little bit of chip on their shoulder when it comes to food and like their psyche with food.
Yeah.
But yeah, so when I was 15, it took a turn into like very serious like preoccupation with food, calculating like intake versus outtake, and then over exercising, under eating, binging, purging, just a really horrible relationship with food for a decade, I would say. But there was a point in time where it was very bad, where I was like had to go to the doctor, and they made me like gain weight, and they took my weight every week, and that was when I was around 15. So that was 15 years ago at least. So I would say that it wasn't until I got into CrossFit that it really started to be on the upswing of, I wouldn't say it's not a cure, but being at least like repairing that relationship with food and changing my perspective on eating and my body and understanding fueling for performing. And the bigger my like goals and my dreams got within CrossFit, the more I really focused in on the performance aspect of it, because while the physical aspect is something that I think, like I said, people are really like I feel like we're really influenced by and have a tendency to be affected by the physical aspect of how we look. In CrossFit, it doesn't matter how you look, it's how you perform. And so whenever I just kept seeing myself improve, and I, worked with a nutrition coach who is who I work for now. I was coached by them back in the day when they were first starting out. And it really taught me to trust that, like, I needed to eat like this to fuel myself, to perform better. And the more I did it, the more I trusted it, the more it let me kind of like ease up on all these stresses I had around food in my body. And I just put faith in the fact that, like, I needed this fuel to perform, and it kept kind of just like paying back tenfold. And so I just became trustworthy of food and realized it's my friend. And the more I've done that, it's just given me more peace. I've been able to eat things that I don't feel like guilty about how I eat. If I want to eat something that I enjoy, I don't think I need to like there's no wagon. I'm not like off the wagon or on the wagon. I'm just like, if I want to eat this, I'm going to eat this, and it's fine because I'm going to live my life and go back, and I'm going to do tomorrow, like, eating how I normally eat. And working out like I normally work out. So it's not so much like extreme living.
Yeah.
Which is how it used to be. So I guess like when you talk about working yourself out of that, and will I still have tendencies? Like, I don't know. I'm not gonna say no, I'm not gonna say no that I won't ever, but I feel like I have a much deeper grasp on the more rational side of things now. And a deeper appreciation for my body and what it can do, which I always emphasize because, like I said, the physical aspect gets in the way, I feel like, a lot. So the more you can really hone in on how you feel and making sure your body is fueled to feel good, to live good, and being proud of how you live your life and the choices you make and how you treat your body, builds a confidence, and that confidence in my mind, that's what carries me through whenever, like, the physical, maybe you have insecurities physically. If you have confidence from, pride in how you treat your body and what you do with it, then it kind of washes it out.
Yeah.
At least that's how it's worked for me. So, I think that trusting food and once you see that it's okay to eat, it kind of allows you to kind of go further and further with getting that relationship repaired and having a little bit more balance and not feeling, like I said, those swings and restriction and then feeling like we're on and off wagons and whatnot. So it's been a long journey. It definitely has been a long journey. And I'm always I'm on alert to make sure I'm like, not having thoughts and stuff still, but I kind of thought maybe like the pregnancy and the change of the body during pregnancy, I was like, I wonder if this will do anything to me. But honestly, I've made it through that pretty well so far. So
awesome. Yeah. So did you get like morning sickness throughout the whole pregnancy at all, or?
I just had a really bad, it's just a bad appetite.
Yeah.
I would say for like 15 weeks, it was almost the whole first trimester, and even a little bit into the second one. I was just like, nothing sounded good. Like none of the foods that I normally eat, my typical foods that I used to eat, like the same sort of thing every day when I was training, and that was just not flying. I don't think I ate a vegetable. I don't think I ate a vegetable for like at least 9 months, because it kind of stemmed even a little bit further. Because even once I started feeling better, they weren't appealing to me. It was bad.
Yeah.
My vegetable intake was poor.
Well, you're very lucky.
I ate a lot of cheese.
Yeah, you're very lucky. My wife was sick for the whole 9 months, both times, and it was worse on the second one. So she was like on Zofran, Diclegis, like anti-nausea medications, throwing up like almost every day, and like she literally had to have a banana like right beside her bed. When she wakes up, she immediately grabbed it and started eating it, because if she got up, she'd have to go straight to the bathroom. And I'm like,
I've heard of a lot of people that sort of issue, having to like get them into the hospital because they're just like, throwing up, getting dehydrated. I did not have any of that, thank God. I was just annoyed because I was like, I know I need to eat, but nothing sounds good. I feel sick, but I know I need to eat, and I'm hungry, but I don't want to eat anything. It was just like, oh my gosh, it was just really annoying more than anything. But, and of course, extreme fatigue.
Of course.
Tired.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not the worst. But then I heard people that were just like, oh, everything's been fine. I've been able to eat normally. And I would just be like, ugh.
Yeah, I hate you.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
But I know that it's like, I didn't have the worst of it and I didn't have the best of it. So.
Yeah. So back to the eating disorder. So you did a post on the Morning Chalk Up. I believe it was like in 2015. By the way, I loved it. So like you actually writing like a letter to your 15-year-old self, in which like great article, by the way. I loved every minute of it. And did you, while writing it, because like I try to do that myself for like my 18-year-old self, and like did you have like any emotions throughout that whole write up at all, or like what was it going through your mind during the write up?
You know what? Like surprisingly, I don't know. I've become like a hardened soul, I suppose. It wasn't super emotional. I mean, a little bit. I don't know. I have my moments. Let me put it that way. But, I mean, that was very vulnerable. Like, there's a lot of vulnerable material there. And it was, of course, like, you know, that's like my honest, you know, raw truths about some of the ways that I've felt and some of the things that I've gone through. And a lot of people, I got that kind of response from a lot of people saying that they really, you know, it was a moving piece. And so I'm really glad that it kind of resonated with people and kind of maybe got to you. But I gotta say, I mean, yes, a little bit, but I don't cry like you used to. I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, so I also have told my story maybe I'm just very comfortable maybe telling these sorts of things. But yeah, there's been a lot of things in my life that, you know, are difficult subject matter, but I think that I've developed a certain, like skin around it maybe, and just kind of built it into accepting it as kind of my life and, trying to find like the silver linings and things a little bit. But yeah, I'm really glad that they asked me about, being a part of that. There's a whole series of those, I think.
Yeah, it was an awesome article. I loved it. So, I mean, I wrote a little bit of stuff, like one that I just said earlier, and it was like, so like, man, if I went this way, I would probably be a whole different person, but I'm kind of glad I went the way I did to, you know, to be the person I am right now.
Yeah, it's crazy. When you think about things, just like life just unfolds. Like if you were to tell me I'd be where I'm at doing what I'm doing, like I would never, like, Kenzie, how'd you get here? Well, honestly, I don't know. It just kind of like, did I manifest it? Like, it just kind of unfolded. You know, it's not like I set out and I was like, well, by the time I'm this age, I want to have done this. That was like never the plan. It just kind of like I said, just kind of like unfolded organically once I started like kind of setting my sights on certain things. Things just kind of happened. But yeah, it's super crazy how life turns out.
Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah. And you started CrossFit, I believe, in like 2012. And so when did you realize you were starting, like you were like really, because I know you went to regionals in 2013. Was it like a 6-month span before you actually like made, like what was the time frame from, you know, when you first started to getting into the regionals?
So yeah, I first started, and it's kind of funny because I kind of picked things up a little like quicker, especially like Olympic lifting, which we know takes a lot of like coordination.
Yeah.
I do have, for some reason I have pretty decent body awareness. So I was like picking up on things, and I have a swimming background. So just like my cardio in general, just like that breathing, you know, for a long period of time, people like swimming, holding your breath and having to work hard, like is a fantastic foundation for CrossFit. Mm-hmm. So swimmers are way ahead of everybody when you're like gasping for air and you can function. We definitely have a leg up, I think. So I just kind of was getting better quickly. And my husband was just like, well, he would tell me like, Kenzie, you're good at this. Like you should like pursue this. Like, he was trying to tell me that I was good and I should like compete and do stuff. And I was always like, no, like look at these girls. Like they're really good. Like I'm not good compared to that. I was always like, no, I'm not compared to, you know, these other people I was watching. And so he was just like, no, you're good. You need to try and do this. So it kind of gave me a little bit of like, okay, maybe he's right. Maybe I do want that. I'm just afraid to like say it. Mm-hmm. So it was a little bit of me not wanting to like admit that I wanted to try and do it. But that back in 2013 was when your gym, if you had an individual, it helped qualify your gym's team. So our affiliate qualified because we had an individual regional athlete at our gym. So his scores counted towards our team scores. And then we filled it in with like, you know, another person. Yeah. So we qualified affiliate team that year, and that would have been right at like almost like 11 months of me doing CrossFit. And they had muscle ups. There was like muscle ups, and every partner or every person had to do at least 3 muscle ups, and I had like just learned to do them, and it was a very sensitive area for me. So yeah, there were definitely things that I wasn't like great at right away. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so I just kind of, sorry. You're good. Yeah, I just kind of started from there, where it was like, and then I got there and I saw like, you know, go back to the fact that I did an RX competition 3 months after I started CrossFit. So I started CrossFit in June, and I did like a local RX partner competition in like September. And I thought I was awesome. But I've never done scale competition ever. I just like went right for it.
Yeah.
Of course, like, yeah, like we did not do like awesome, but I was like, this is so cool. Like, I want to do more of these. And then I didn't even know what the CrossFit Games were at all and then I learned like, you know, regionals and the games, and I learned about all that stuff, and we went to regionals, and I was just like, oh my God. And you got to like see all the people. And my husband remembers that we were like walking down the street, and I was like, oh my God, look, it's Deborah Carson. I was just like, and he was like, who? And I like knew all the people because I had like turned into this huge CrossFit psycho in like a matter of like 6, 7, 8 months. So yeah. And then I remember, and I tell Stacy, I'm like, I remember I came up to you in the bathroom at like 2012 or 2013 regionals. And I was like, I asked you like how to get as fit as you were. So I like asked her something stupid. I was just like, oh my God, like how do I get to be on your level or something like that? And she doesn't remember. I was just like some weird fangirl. But yeah, I was like super into it then. I was just like, oh my gosh. It set the fire, but then I realized I had a long way to go type of thing, but it made me want to like train more. And, you know, I went from going to class to going, you know, and sticking around after class, and then looking at other programming, and then wanting to train with other people and follow other programming. And then I'm doing 2 hours at the gym, and then I'm trying to leave work on my lunch break to go do another session. Like, you know, just like made me want to train more, made me want to get better, train with harder, you know, train with other people. Of course, you know, social media, you're just like following everybody, watching everything, learning all the people. And, you know, I had this vision board on the back of my office door with like just cutouts of magazines of like all the best girls. And I just like, that's just what I wanted to do then. So I still didn't believe I could do it. I never thought I'd go to the games. I just wanted to get better. I just wanted to like be the, you know, just get better and be able to do muscle ups and be able to be the best in my gym and be able to do this. And it eventually just snowballed. And all of a sudden, next thing you know, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm doing so well in the open, and I'm on a team, but I'm like, I could go individually, like look where I'm at on the leaderboard. And then I was like, okay, one of these years I'm going to do it. And then I did it.
Very cool. So your first CrossFit Games, were you like instant fangirl, like all like the girls that have been there forever? You're like, oh my God, I'm like working out right next to like so and so, or like I'm right next to this. I'm in their heat, you know.
Yeah, it was definitely when I went. So the first year I went on a team, I was on OC3, OC3 Black, OC3, and that was kind of like the first. You kind of get like your first year experience of like, oh my gosh, like we're here, we're getting all the gear and like all the people, and you see, you know, like you kind of get that like experience of being like, we've made it. Like, look, we're amongst the fit people, and you know, you get to see people close. You get to see them like close up, and like you're like, oh my God, I was just standing next to Sam Briggs, or you know, like whatever. So, and then my second year, so whenever I went individually, my first time. Within that first 2017 season, I had become really good friends with China because she started following Misfit. And that was like wild to me because I remember watching her and thinking, oh my gosh, she seems so cool. I bet we could be friends. And then like I actually got the chance to meet her and train with her. And we're like very, very good friends now. So that kind of like, it's just like the further you get into things, like you just start like meeting people and like kind of, you know, and that kind of normalizes it with you where you're like, okay, we are the same. Like, I'm the same as you. I can't look at you as like, okay, you're a multi-time, you know, games athlete. You're a games champion. It's like, if I don't think of you as equal to me, then there's no chance that I have to compete. Like, I'm going to shut myself down thinking I can't compete with you, which I still kind of thought a little bit. But it was definitely very, very cool to meet people and realize we're all just people. Like we're all like the same like athlete where you know have the same sort of like feelings and thoughts and attitudes and senses of humor and taste in TV shows, and you know you think of them as just like totally different, but we're just the same. We're just people. So and that was fun. I really love the fact that I've made so many friends with people that I have like really truly looked up to for so long. So it's very neat.
Yeah, that's with me too, especially like I've wanted you to get on my podcast for a while. I just didn't have like the galls to do it yet. I mean, I've gotten like I don't know why, because like it's just like when I first started this podcast, I had like other diabetics and stuff like that, and I was like super nervous of even like interviewing them. And then like I started getting more into CrossFit athletes, and then I'm like, all right, you know, will they respond back to me? And then like when I still get like the nervous like butterflies like a 5 minutes before the podcast starts, because it's like, okay, like what do I expect? But like it's like you said, it's like you guys are just normal people, just, you know, working out. So it, you know,
yeah, it's just like, for some reason they're just like really crazy able to be fit, but for the most part, I mean, I've not really met an unpleasant athlete. Like people, like a lot of my, you know, local friends will ask me like, what's so-and-so like? What's blah, blah, blah like? You know, and on this, I really can't think of a single person that I've met that I've had like a bad experience with, or that was rude, or, you know, thought they were awesome, or, you know, whatever. Most people are, you know, very like reasonable and humble and just normal and fun. And so that, I don't know what that says about CrossFit, but we've got cool people competing in our sports.
Yeah, I mean, even in like the local boxes, everyone's nice to each other. I've never seen like a mean person to like anybody. So everyone's like all about each other, like helping each other out, like clapping on and like cheering each other on, even during the open. Even though like they want, obviously they want to beat that person, but obviously they want the other person to do good.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's tough because we are very like, I think in general our society is, we're very, I don't want to say self-absorbed, but we're very focused on ourselves. And we're focused on ourselves in our workout and in our training. But when you're training with somebody else, you're supposed to be focusing on yourself, you know.
Yep.
When you're racing somebody else, you're supposed to be focusing on yourself. But yeah, when you get the chance to be able to cheer for somebody else, it's a lot of fun. Like I kind of love being not competing and going to like, I love going to competitions when I'm not competing. It's like fun when you get to just like talk to people and hang out and like socialize and cheer for people. I don't know. It's fun being on that side of it. I love being a CrossFit Games spectator. Oh my gosh, best vacation I ever took. CrossFit Games 2014. I mean, so yeah.
Yeah. So
I love being on the other side of it.
Yeah. Very cool. So do you have like a favorite festival or like favorite games that you always like kind of reminisce, like, man, that was like such a great time to be an actual athlete in that you know, CrossFit event?
I mean, really? I mean, I don't know where the future of the sport is going, but obviously we saw what happened with like the COVID year, which, I mean, that was the world. Like, can't do anything about that. And then 2019 was a weird year. So like the 2 years, I obviously loved, because I spectated twice in Carson, and then I competed once in Carson as a team. And that was just kind of like the birthplace of all of this craziness, where it was just like the amazing venue in California. And, you know, I love that I got to at least compete there one time. And then I think, honestly, 17 and 18, I think were awesome years for competing. I'm glad that I was a part of it then. That was the years that, like, you know, we did like, you know, 4 or 5 days straight. Granted, that's how, like I said, I think that's kind of where it started, was like 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Like, those are the years where it was like every year was just like, whoa, and just like creeped up and up and up. But in 17, you know, that was the first year in Madison, and everybody was like, how's this going to go? And, you know, kind of got to trial that one out. 18, 18 was my best performance year. It was, you know, after my rookie year, of course. So I felt a little bit more comfortable, but that was the year we saw like marathon row. I'm glad I got to do it, but I also hated that I had to do it.
Yeah.
Obviously. And then we did the chaos event where like no one knew what they were doing even when we were doing it. That was nuts, but like that was so cool. Handstand walk ramps, like things just got crazy. And things were just like, it was wild. I think that was the year we saw the most weird shit pop up almost.
Yep.
So, I mean, I thought that was a great year. So yeah, I think that, but then, you know, it's like, are we getting too far away from CrossFit, like the foundation of CrossFit? Like, I don't know, but it's freaking awesome to watch. So, yeah, I'm really glad that I competed at the time that I did. I don't know where, like I said, I don't know where the future of the sport's going, especially, I mean, now that we've got a whole new, like, CEO, and, you know, Dave's kind of, I think, back more in charge than maybe he might have been at one point. And I think, I don't know, we had to work some bugs out, so maybe things will kind of go back to, like, what we knew it to be. But the past couple of years, I'm, like, kind of glad that I had this baby when I did. Not gonna lie, last year, I was just, like, I would been stressing out trying to figure out how to stay fit during gym shutdowns and all that. So,
yeah,
I'm not necessarily mad about the timing of how this worked out, but obviously people are still getting very fit, and the games were super cool to watch last year. How they all went out to California, and I thought it was cool. CrossFit worked that out for them, but I'm interested to see this year how it comes back and if this structure stays, because it's all new again, you know? So 3 years in a row, we've done something different. Like, what's going on?
Yeah. So we're getting close to the end. So a couple quick questions. So what are your goals, you know, like family-wise, CrossFit-wise, business-wise for the rest of this year?
The rest of this year. So, I mean, honestly, I said, so when everybody, are you going to do the open? Of course I'm going to do the open. Do I have any expectation for the open? Because I've only been able to train at the most probably 90 minutes, somewhere between 60 and 90 minutes a day. And I do a lot of it in my garage where I don't have, you know, ropes and rings and, you know, handstand walking space, and, you know, you're kind of limited, right? So I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to train and make sure I train and feel good about whatever I do. I follow most as I can the Misfit blog. So if not, I might just pull something I saw somebody do on Instagram that sounds good, sounds fun, or, you know, whatever. So that's how training is. I'm going to do the open, see what happens. If I go, you know, looks like I'm going to make it to the quarterfinals. So from there, am I going to like rearrange my life to try and make it to like the next level? No, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing and see what happens. So from a competing perspective, it's not the goal to compete. It's not my livelihood to compete. So I'm much more focused on, like, I will always compete if I have the opportunity, if it's not putting a major like stress on my life. Right. Mm-hmm. So I see competing as an opportunity to stay engaged in a community, to stay connected to people, to stay, you know, gaining more experience. Now I'm competing as a mom. What's that like? You know, it's different insight at this stage of my life of how people are managing, you know, parenthood and nutrition, parenthood and training. So honestly, I mean, I'm gonna keep being a dietitian and trying to help people the most I can with the experience that I have, which I'm getting these new experiences. And I, you know, coach at my gym. I coach, you know, on a local level, being a part of the Misfit coaching staff as well. So trying to use my experience to help other people is really like my career goals at this point. My career goal isn't to compete. We'll see what happens. I don't know. Family wise, any day that my child is struggling, my husband is just like, there's no way we can have another one. And I'm like, oh my gosh, everyone goes through this. I'm sure it'll be fine. Like, I'm sure everybody thinks that. So yeah, I don't know. We're not ready quite yet, but I do know that I would always want a pair of children, or one or two or three more. Definitely not three. So yeah, I definitely think that we will try to grow our family a little bit more. I don't know when. If it turns out that I'm a master's age athlete and maybe I have a chance of competing at a master's level, maybe I would do that. Kind of depends how ready we are to pull the trigger on baby number 2.
Yeah.
So stick with me on that. We'll see. TBD. But until then, it's just using my experience on various levels of, like I said, different parts of life to help other people, whether it's sport or nutrition or, just life in general. Like you were saying, I do have a lot of experience in some areas. I obviously have experience with the eating disorder. I have a lot of experience with like grief and loss. And I think that those are things that people don't really like. Those are things I think other people can benefit from, having some sort of like just sounding board in life, or, somebody in their corner. So I haven't quite figured out exactly how to use all of that yet, but I would like to use, like I said, that experience to help other people beyond just fitness and nutrition, but primarily fitness and nutrition, but there are other things I know about too.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. Yeah. Well, I mean, you have the platform for it on Instagram, so.
See, I know, and this is my struggle, trying to figure out how to tie it all together. But yeah, I want to use my platform for good, and also grow kind of my reach, because now I'm relevant to more than just CrossFitters, which has been where I've got to where I am is just on fitness alone, basically, I feel like. So I am multifaceted, and hopefully I can appeal to others and realize that there's lots of things I can talk about and provide guidance on, and support. So I am an open book as well. So hopefully, if anybody ever wants to reach out, I am more than happy to respond. Always respond to my DMs.
That's good, because not a lot of people do that. So
I was going to say, I thought most people, maybe I'm just not as popular, but I definitely respond to most any messages I get. So I'm happy to engage. So hit me up.
Very cool. So do you have like a favorite book that you like to read or like to give out to people as gifts?
I'm really bad at reading. I'm not going to lie to you. I will say I read a couple of really good books in my life that were that I could actually read. So it's a good book if I can actually if it's engages me and I want to read it. One of them was 50 Shades of Grey. So I will say that. But I read this book called You Are a Badass, which I have given as a gift before.
Yep. Great book.
Have you read that one?
Yeah.
So that was whenever I was trying to get the courage to leave my day job to pursue nutrition and fitness on my own. So yeah, that was awesome. I did the job. And then I read mostly for professional development. So I read a lot of nutrition books. I don't know if that's something that people want to know about or if they're into reading nutrition books, but if you're looking for a recommendation, there's a book called The Fuck It Diet, which I recently read, that I think is very, very eye-opening. I'm not saying it's 100% what people need to do, but it definitely shines a light on a lot of like I said, some of the things that people struggle with in diet culture and how our brains get to be how they are around food. So I think it's definitely a good read. Makes you really look at yourself and just be like, yes, that's me. Yes, that's me. Oh my gosh. And it kind of helps you understand why. Yeah. So anyways.
Very, very cool. Very cool.
Do you have a book that you recommend?
I like, for fiction, I like Toys by Robert Patterson? It's like a James Bond and Jason Bourne mixed together, and it's completely sci-fi. It's that one really I liked. Gosh, what is I'm literally looking at my
I'm a non-fictioner. I'm not a good fiction reader.
Yeah, I'm not. I like real life stuff. So I like biographies. I like the Richard Branson's books. My favorite one is Screw It, Just Do It by Richard Branson.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that one's a good one. It talks about how he has he doesn't really put much thought in some things. When he met Phil Collins, he was he was in a cab when Phil Collins was driving. And he knew it was Richard Branson, so he's like, hey, my mom would like to meet you. And so he's like, yeah, I'll go. And then they finally realized who Phil Collins was, and he's like, all right, well, I want you to sign on to Virgin Records.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah, it was super interesting book. It don't really think too much about it, just do it. So,
yeah,
I mean,
that. Yeah. I feel like I kind of live like that. I don't know if that's good or bad. Sometimes I'm just like, I think about things I say and do, and I'm like, is that okay? But otherwise, I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't be here where I'm at now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really bad at reading. I do more Audible.
Yeah, I'm more of like podcasting and like I really because like I like the only time I have available is like driving to work and back, so it's like just podcasts and that's it. So
we started doing getting in bed earlier, and my husband and I are like, we're gonna read every day because I have a book I have to read for to keep my dietitian license. Like I said, I read for professional development. So we're like, okay, we're gonna go to bed 30 minutes early, and we've been doing it the whole month of March. So I'm getting better at reading.
Slowly but surely. So
yeah, so far.
Yeah. So obviously you said you reached out to your DMs. So if anybody has any questions like on anything, where can they reach you other than like Instagram or like, where can they, hit you up at?
God, well, Instagram is really, really the best place to hit me up, to be honest. I am revamping my website. So I will have a website soon. So be on the lookout for MekenzieRiley.com. Currently non-existent, but the domain is mine. So I'm working literally in the midst of it. So give me like a week or two and we'll have MekenzieRiley.com. And that will be available for contact. There's a contact form on there. So anything that is, I don't know. I mean, like I said, I have a lot of different hats I can wear. And if you go to MekenzieRiley.com, you'll see all the different things that I work in and can be a resource for. So if you want to also just learn more about me, just go there and you can read all the things I can do for you.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, thank you very much for your time. I really do appreciate you reaching, like you wanting to do a podcast with me, and like I'm truly grateful for you doing this.
Yeah, of course. I love podcasts. I really do. I should have told you I love to talk. And I haven't done one in a while. I used to do them all the time with Misfit, but I haven't been there in so long, and we haven't done one in so long. I'm getting all my podcast fixed right now.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, no problem.